Lesson 0, martial philosophy. We want to start with the word martial, like we say in martial arts. It means war or military. So when we say martial arts, we mean war arts. So in the case of martial philosophy, we're talking about military philosophy. In martial arts, this is basically the ideas and values that inform our conduct and help us choose what we are going to believe. With all of these lessons, there's going to be a beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. So for martial philosophy, the beginning level is with the 5 tenets, and they are courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, indomitable spirit. Courtesy. Courtesy is a free gift of kindness that we give to all people without regard for repayment or for the merit of the individual that we're giving that free gift to. Integrity. Integrity is when our words and actions closely align with our stated values. It means doing what we say we're going to do and being consistent. Perseverance. Perseverance is a willingness to endure hardship for the sake of our values. Self-control. Self-control is the ability to forego what is satisfying in favor of what is righteous. An indomitable spirit is an immunity to despair. It is a willingness to see where our values are leading us and to faithfully continue on, though we would have cause to give up. Now, to be more specific about how these tenets are informative of a martial philosophy, I'll give you a quick rundown on how they apply to a war art, a martial art. So in the case of courtesy, courtesy is a preventative measure. We give that free gift of kindness, knowing that we may be giving it to an unworthy individual or that we may never receive payment for that kindness, because we believe that giving that kindness is going to reward us by helping us to prevent conflict down the road. We know from experience as human beings that conflicts arise from misunderstandings, from conflicting values, and from moments where our individual agendas clash with other people. And by being courteous, we are offering something that really truly doesn't cost us much, if anything at all, but can help to smooth out the rough edges of human interaction. Integrity. Integrity is about getting people to rely on us. And that even includes in a negative sense. If someone is prepared to do conflict with us, if they see us as having integrity, that might prevent conflict in so much that we know we'll follow through with whatever it is that we have said we would do when conflict, personal conflict, arises. So that level of consistency is helpful because chaos invites more chaos. Chaos invites challenge. So if they can see us as being consistent, if they can see us as having virtues that we closely align to, these things make it easier for people to predict our behavior and either trust us in a positive way or trust us in a negative way, in that if we say, if you do X, we will have to do Y, that they can be assured that we will faithfully follow through with that. Perseverance. Perseverance has value in a martial sense because conflicting with people is hard. In any facet, it requires some level of staying power, whether it is the soft conflict of mere interaction, clashing agendas, misunderstandings. We have to have the strength to be able to stand our ground, be patient, look for opportunities. And in the sense of a hard conflict, when we're clashing with somebody, physically or otherwise, we have to have the capacity to follow through and stay the course when we are pushed back on. Self-control. Self-control is an important element because oftentimes the thing that is satisfying is not the right thing to do. And we have to be able to recognize that and have the clarity of thought and clarity of spirit to separate ourselves from the thing that we might have the urge to do, because doing what is right is going to have more impact on the value of the person that we are and the values that we project and the outcomes that we seek. If we seek peace, if we seek order, if we seek what is good, self-control is an absolute must. Indomitable spirit. Nothing of value comes easy. Everything requires some level of effort, some level of cost. And oftentimes, if we say that we have a certain value, if we value peace, if we value love, that assertion will be tested. And sometimes it will be tested to unreasonable levels. But if we can see the value of our virtues, if we can see where we believe they will lead us, where our faith says they will lead us, then we must have this capacity to endure for its sake. Otherwise, all that is required to get us to shake ourselves of those values is sufficient resistance. The intermediate level of martial philosophy has to do with how we conduct ourselves when in conflict. So it's one thing to mark off the boundaries of our values and the traits that we seek to promote in ourselves in pursuit of those values. But then those ideas have to make contact with reality, and no more so than we are in conflict with other people. And this includes, perhaps even especially, when we are in friendly conflict or contest, like sparring and competition. There has to be an ethic to when we're throwing punches and kicks. There has to be an ethic for the rules to which we engage and disengage. What do we count as our rules for victory? What is good cause for us to use our violence? I think we then take those 5 pillars and apply them further. And this is where I think where courtesy and self-control are perhaps the most predominant, because these are the most restraining on our conduct. In the sense of courtesy, we need to project to our opponent the best possible intentions. That is, if we are engaged in a simple friendly contest, we give them the benefit of the doubt when they do something that might be out of bounds for the rules or might be out of bounds for conduct. So let's say somebody does something illegal in the contest. We should be less inclined to interpret those actions as malicious, rather give them some way out. They were caught up in the heat of the moment. They were concerned because of the heat of battle. They moved and couldn't slow down their action by the time it hit. In the case of real conflict, we want to be searching for signs that they are willing to withdraw, or they're willing to renegotiate, re-enter into a peaceful disposition with us, instead of taking that opportunity to punish them, or in contest decide that because they have done X or Y in the contest, that this now gives me permission to violate that same rule set or engage in our mind in kind to what they're doing. We need to protect our values. We need to protect our own integrity. If we entered that contest saying we believe in fair play, when somebody is unfair with us, we want to protect that version of ourselves, even when it gets attacked and challenged in that moment. Integrity plays into that because if we train in alignment with values, there's no place that those values are going to get tested greater than when you are in direct conflict with another individual. Perseverance is obvious. When somebody is resisting you in order to achieve our goal, in order to bring fruit to the values that our training has brought us to, because remember, everything that we do in training is the exercise of those values. We are taking those values and we are bringing them into the world, into something real. It is in the seeking of perfection of our technique. It is the building up of our bodies, making ourselves stronger and more able, and the increase of our knowledge and wisdom. We must persevere in order to exercise those values. Indomitable spirit, we will meet great challenges. We will find ourselves in a set of circumstances where the easy thing to do is to decide that our values aren't that valuable after all. And this really speaks to courage, because courage is not merely shaking off of fear, but courage is recognizing that something that you are working for has value and it cannot be abandoned because we are confronted by our own inadequacies. And that's really how indomitable spirit plays out. The advanced level of martial philosophy is this idea that the central thesis of our training is the resolution of conflict. We train a kind of warfare, a kind of battle, a kind of human confrontation as the extreme preparation for the worst kind of human interaction, namely violence. But the central thesis to all martial arts is the resolution of conflict. Now, martial arts in the internal sense, and there's such a thing as internal martial arts and external martial arts. In the internal sense, we are seeking peace within ourselves. Much of this is done in a meditative sense, that the calling into action our external body is an attempt to exert control over our lives in a way that will help us find that peace. We seek perfection in movement, perfection in the clarity of our thoughts, and in the projection of those thoughts into the world. The resolution of conflict must be pushed out from that moment of violent contact. It needs to go beyond mere diplomacy, beyond the petty interactions that we have where we try to smooth over conflict, but to actually prevent conflict from happening. I believe it's the Tao Te Ching that says that the greatest warrior is the one who never has to draw his sword. And it's an intriguing idea that one can be a warrior, a fighter, who doesn't actually fight, because all the conflicts that might cause them to engage in violence have been resolved long before the fight ever happens. And this is the high point of martial philosophy, is not merely being prepared when all else fails, but rather that we try to bring forward into the world the kinds of things that resolve conflict long before they arise. And this isn't capitulation or appeasement. This is the recognition that human beings are frail in a lot of ways, and that if we anticipate character faults and try to find ways to resolve them, we are doing the higher form of martial arts. And sometimes this can be really simple. If you know that place over there is where a lot of people get into fights, it's a good idea not to go to that place. It can be as sophisticated as developing a relationship with someone, recognizing that there is a conflict of interest there, and engaging with that person in an honest, forthright, and courteous way so that the issue is confronted and resolved long before the temperature rises between those two individuals. That is the highest form of martial art. This is the last form of martial art.